when is the reason why we should fully experience nature. What is creativity? It is the ability to see the invisible, hear the inaudible, and have insights on things without experiencing them. Simply put, it is the ability to predict and survive. Every child is born with his or her own seed of creativity. It is a precious gift inherited from the parents. Then, what should be done to make this seed of creativity to sprout, grow well, and bear fruits? First of all, it requires good soil. The best way of nurturing creativity is by practicing the proper mathematics education. Mathematics is the study to discover the secrets of nature. The study of mathematics starts from finding out the unique designs living organisms have through observation. It is critical in mathematics education to make children to see, hear, and experience more things. Mathematics helps their seeds of creativity to grow well and be fruitful. Children with much experience of observation can see the invisible. Children with much experience of hearing can hear the inaudible. Children with much experience of visiting many places can be intuitive about the places that they have never been before. Experiencing nature is closely related to survival ability called creativity. Children can sprout and bloom their own seeds of creativity through the books telling the stories of the people and the world that they have never experienced. On a personal level, the seeds of creativity will act as a compass letting children know the best job suits them. On a national level, the seeds of creativity will bloom into advanced technology engineers who will create a bright future of the country. Mathematics is closely related to happiness. People in modern societies feel very lonely. To live healthily is what people are most interested in today. Would it not be great if there is a specific help that realized the people's desire for longevity? The key to people's happiness lies in nature. If the secrets of nature can be found through mathematics, machines or technologies that make people happy can be developed. High-end technology is closely related to happiness. Mathematics is the source of every high-tech industry. Therefore, the level of a country's mathematics skills is equivalent to the level of a country's competitiveness. It is no wonder that most developed countries today have an advanced level of mathematics. Observation is important to find out the secrets of nature. Observation does not only mean looking at the outside. The ideal ways are to touch, smell, and hear things in nature. You can fully experience nature when you observe nature with all your 5 senses. The most representative sense is the eyes, the visual sensory organ. The receptors that detect light stimuli are located in the retina. They accept electromagnetic waves with wavelengths of approximately 400 to 720 nm. The most representative sense is the eyes, the visual sensory organ. Their sensory receptors are in cochlear implants in the inner ears. The human ears can detect sounds with frequencies between 20 to 20,000. The nose is the olfactory sensory organ. The receptors that detect smells are located in the mucous membrane. These olfactory receptors react to various volatile substances in the air. The tongue is the gustatory sensory organ. The receptors that perceive the taste are in the taste buds. The tongue detects various water-soluble substances that melt in the mouth and makes people feel the tastes. Lastly, the skin is the tactile sensory organ. It is also a sensory organ that feels warmth, coldness, and pain. The senses felt by the skin is called skin sense. It is sometimes regarded as one of the five senses instead of the tactile sense. The sensation in your hands is important when you touch an object in nature. When touching an object that exists in nature, what you feel in the hands is important. However, it is also important to know how the elements in nature change when you open or fold them. How wide would a person's body surface be? It is not easy to figure out, but the ways of measuring it is already in nature. A big tree trunk is covered by small and large pieces of barks. When you peel off each bark and add up the area of every piece, it will be the surface area of the tree. Likewise, when you cover your body with small squared papers and count how many are used, you can quickly figure out the body surface area. Everything consisted of nature has its distinctive shapes, textures, or taste for clear reasons. If you can figure out why an object feels, tastes, sounds like that, you will be capable of seeing the invisible and hearing the inaudible. What are the logical reasons hidden behind the human senses? Tactile sense is incited when you touch an object in nature. Then, what exactly is it? It is the sense of touch exerted on the skin. It includes a sense of pressure, pain, cooling, and warmth. Feeling pain through tactile sense is crucial. When you touch a sharp object, it is the pain that makes you avoid a dangerous situation. Braille books, made for visually impaired people, can be read by tactile sense. You can read a text by touching raised dots on it with your finger. Because Braille is different from the letters people usually use, you need to learn and get used to its shapes to read it. A computer takes a very important role in modern society today. A computer and people need a medium between them to exchange information. An interface refers to hardware or software that helps communication between different devices or programs on a computer. In the past, to run a program, commands had to be manually typed. These days, however, you can do what you want to do simply with a few clicks. This is because the interface of the computer's operating system changed from text to graphic and the information input interface changed from keyboard to mouse. The interface is getting more important as computer technology advances. Computers and interfaces are inseparable. The interface improved based on 5 senses for easier use. The interface technology used to solely rely on audio-visual senses. However, with advances in engineering recently, it utilizes the intuitive tactile senses. Wrinkles on fingertips are called fingerprints. Everyone has different fingerprints. This is the reason why detectives or police in TV shows or movies use fingerprints when they track down criminals. With fingers, people can grab things easily and fold or unfold papers to wrap a gift. If fingertips are smooth or slippery, an object would be hard to grab as it slips away from your hands. However, little rough fingerprints on the surface of fingers prevent it from slipping. Why do people have different fingerprints? That is because everyone has different DNA sequences. Fingerprints are formed before people are born. They are developed during the prenatal period and do not change throughout the entire life. It is amazing that even the identical twins have the different fingerprints. As it is widely known that fingerprints are used to chase criminals, they try not to leave their fingerprints, like by wearing gloves. In this case, what can be done? Even with gloves, some traces can still remain on the object when touched. This could be an important evidence in solving crimes. In Korea, the unique residues of 300 gloves produced both within and outside of the country are identified and used to solve crimes. Dogs and cats do not have fingerprints, but primates such as monkeys, chimpanzees, and orangutans have fingerprints. So do koalas. In fact, humans and animals have similar fingerprints. At a glimpse, it is actually hard to tell the difference. A mystery novel writes about how the fingerprints found at the scene of the crime later turns out to be the fingerprints of koalas. Why do we leave fingerprints behind? It is because of skin oils, which are produced to keep the hands moist all the time. This oil forms a very thin layer all over the body. Our skin tries to hydrate itself by producing moisture and oil. This oil forms a thin layer all over the body. Of course, oil is also on our palm and fingers. When we touch an object, the tips of the finger that come in contact will have traces of oil, leaving fingerprints behind. Peacocks have long and brilliant tail feathers. When they fan out their feather, its beautiful patterns and form will appear. Why do peacocks fan out their feathers? First, they try to attract a mate. Male peacocks try to court female peacocks with its beautiful feathers. Female peacock selects the mate with the most beautiful feathers. Second, they use their feathers when they need to scare away potential predators. When they fan out their feather, the circle shapes within it look like an animal's eyes. The potential predator may mistake as though they are being surrounded by many animals and flee. When in danger, making oneself's body larger can act as a protection. A frilled lizard can make its body look larger than it actually is to protect itself. Frilled lizards have skinny body and long tail, with a large ruff of skin around their neck. When a frilled lizard senses that it is in danger, it would open up its frills in a shape of an umbrella to scare away much larger predators. It unfolds its neck frills when it is trying to attract a female or adjusting its temperature. Mimosa pudica quickly folds inwards even at the slightest touch. When it is touched the water and its cells escapes, making the leaves shrink in. Because the Mimosa pudica is so sensitive, it is also called the sensitive plant. During the day, the leaves of Mimosa pudica are spread out to get a lot of sunlight, and folded in so the heat does not escape during the night. The oxalis with purple heart-shaped leaves also have their leaves spread open during the day like morning glory and closes up during the night. The leaves that are huddled up together look like as if they are hugging each other. The leaves of oxalis also move due to the cells holding or releasing the water depending on the temperature. Plants are amazing. They make their own nutrients using sunlight and water as well as the oxygen and nutrients animals need to survive. Plants also act as animals' food and their cozy home. However, plants and animals are always in an endless silent war. Ever since plants and animals have been grouped differently, plants have been unable to hide or run away from animals. Instead, in a desperate attempt, they found other ways to survive. Humans deliver signals quickly through the nervous system, allowing us to react quickly to the impulses from the outside and move quickly if needed. But what about plants that do not have brains? Those who have had plants know that plants move toward plants. However, this movement happens at such a slow pace, so it is regarded only as a chemical phenomenon. On the other hand, some plants move quickly. There is a plant that acts as though it can feel an insect entering between its leaves, also known as trap, and clamps its leaves together. This plant is called the Venus flytrap. Less than 10 years since their discovery, Venus flytraps have spread all over Europe. Even Charles Darwin was fascinated that he studied the plant. He dubbed the Venus flytrap the most wonderful plant in the world. In his eyes, this plant seemed to embody the miracle of evolution. Also, the Venus flytrap moved at a very high speed, which was extremely rare for a plant, and had a unique characteristic of eating insects. We have previously discussed mimosa. If you touch the leaves of a mimosa, all the leaves contracts upward. If you gently stroke of the entire leaves, all the leaves droop downward. Why does this happen? It is yet to be scientifically proven, but scientists hypothesize that it may be to scare insects or to avoid being grazed on by herbivores. How do the plants come to have these characteristics? The process of figuring out the answer is very interesting. This may sound complicated, but the electric potential energy that a unit of electron in an electric field has is called the potential. To see the action potential of Mimosa on the computer screen, we can connect the electric wires between the ground and the stalks. Then, touch the leaves of the Mimosa. What would happen? A strong jolt appears on the screen. This jolt shows the action potential occurring within the plant. How come we can see such a strong response? It is because the mimosa wanted to move. Once the feel receptor of a mimosa is stimulated, the mimosa sends an electric signal to the end of the stalk to move it. Humans use muscles to move, but plants do not have muscles, they are full of water. When an electric signal runs through the water, the cells open up, release the moisture, and change the shape of the cells. This makes the mimosa stalks to droop. If you look inside the leaves of a Venus flytrap, there are 3 fine strands of hair called trigger hair. What would happen if a fly sat on it and touched a hair? The action potential on the screen will show a beautiful parabola. Yet, the leaves would not close. Why does this happen? It takes a very long time, about 24 to 48 hours, for a Venus flytrap to open its leaves again. In other words, closing the leaves without a fly inside means a massive loss of energy for the plant. Also, the Venus flytrap does not need to catch very many flies throughout a year. It only needs a few, as it obtains most of the energy from the sun and just a small amount comes from insects such as flies. In fact, the Venus flytrap rarely opens and closes its leaves. The Venus flytrap would close its leaves only when it is sure a fly is sitting on it. How would it know? It can figure this out by measuring the duration of contact made to its trigger hair. As humans, we can see how unique the plant's sense of touch is. Plants do not have brains. There are no axons or neurons in plants. They never suffer from depression, feel curious about the results of a sports game, or spend sleepless nights over problems of self-realization. That is, they communicate using electricity. There is some difference on how humans and plants communicate, but it is similar in principle. In the case of humans, the brain processes information. Nerve cells called neurons play an important role here. The action potential allows even plants to deliver information between them. Venus flytraps first release action potential once the fly enters the trap and then starts to measure the time. As the time reaches 20 seconds, the Venus flytrap does not close its leaves if the signal does not come again. If another action potential occurs, the plant closes the trap. If you have a Venus flytrap around you, try touching the hair on the plant. What would happen if you touch the hair for more than 20 seconds? The leaves do not close. What would happen when a fly touches the hair of a Venus flytrap several times consecutively while flying around it? The leaves of the plant close right away. In fact, the Venus flytrap was calculating the time. The Venus flytrap made a judgment whether there is a fly in its leaves, and then closed the leaves. When is touching, unfolding, and cutting used? The law of nature that something becomes smaller when folded and bigger when unfolded had a big impact on both scientific and technological advancement. For example, in order to observe space, we must be able to load a telescope on a rocket and fly it off to space. A telescope must be small to be loaded on a spaceship. However, a small telescope will not be as good as bigger ones. Scientists made big telescopes that can be folded like paper and loaded it onto a rocket, so it can unfold itself once it arrives to the destination. Telescopes used in space applies the law of nature, also a principle of origami, that something becomes smaller when folded and bigger when unfolded. Origami is applied in various fields. By applying the principles of origami, we were able to fold a football field-sized space telescope lens to make it smaller. Airbags, which are used to protect the passengers, is another application of the principles of origami. Usually an airbag has to be folded to be small but has to quickly inflate when there is an accident. Origami is also used in parachutes, which lets us land safely on the ground from the sky. Origami is a skill and a form of entertainment that allows us to make various shapes such as birds, clothes, boats, flowers, and helmets by folding paper. We don't know the exact origins of origami because it was handed down from generation to generation. In Japan, origami was already a popular form of entertainment in the 19th century. In the 20th century, it became the form as we know it today. The Japanese word origami, meaning folding paper, settled as the official name. Moreover, the bundle of colored square papers used in origami also came to be called origami because they were sold as origami. Magicians introduced origami to Europe because they were materials used for their magic tricks. For the past decade, there has been lots of research done on how to make electronic devices using paper. There are many benefits in using cheap and accessible paper to make electronic devices. For example, by simply just folding it, you can turn on and off a circuit switch or change the way it operates. Simply put, a world where electronic origami is possible has come about. By applying this idea, we can make various disposable paper electronic devices. For instance, if we can draw the circuit that can detect heavy metal contamination on paper, it would mean we can monitor toxins at a cheaper price. By using the sensor on the paper, we can detect lead, a toxin, from a drop of water or blood. The principle is to make electrons in the circuit stop moving by creating small intervals in between. By doing so, if heavy metal enters the circuit, it would fill in the space and let electricity flow. Many scientists have been researching how to make and utilize electronic origami. The fact that we can draw practical circuit patterns on paper that can serve various functions and that we can fold and unfold the paper hundreds of times and still use it is one of the greatest strengths of electronic origami. With origami, we can create a new shape by connecting a number of smaller pieces. The shapes we get when combining 4 square pieces is called Tetromino. Alexei Pajitnov created the game Tetris using Tetromino. At Tetris, various Tetromino shapes fall randomly, and the user has to make complete rows starting from the bottom by moving and rotating the shapes accordingly. When a row gets completely filled, that row disappears and the player scores a point. There are many inventions around us that mimics the fingerprints function of not slipping. For example, car tires are made using the principle of fingerprints. The patterns on the tires help prevent the car from slipping on the road. Other examples of inventions using the principle of fingerprints include bicycle handles, rubber gloves, the sole of a shoe. Like fingerprints, they all have wrinkles which helps prevent slipping. Octopuses and squids have suckers on their tentacles that helps them cling on anything. Remoras, shark suckers, use their suckers and attach to the stomach of other sharks or whales. A suction cup uses the same principle as the suckers. They draw out the air trap between the sucker and the surface and gets firmly attached to the wall. It is used on toothbrush holders or soap holders that attach on glass or a mirror. It is also used for phone holders or GPS in cars. Biometric authentication is a process that extracts measurable humans' physical and behavioral characteristics and compares against its database to identify an individual. Personal characteristics such as a person's face shape, voice, fingerprint, or the eyeball are used like a key or password so to prevent stealing or forgery. Also, because these features are hard to change or lose, they are often used for security. They are widely used as a secure and safe management system because it can identify users post-mortem. Various traits, such as the fingerprint, voice, face, iris, palm prints, veins, and more are used for biometric authentication. Recently, research includes the usage of the way you walk, body odor, shape of your ear, and DNA information for biometric authentication. Only simple movements can be used to identify someone through biometric authentication. By using biometric authentication, there will be no need to download additional programs, security or vaccine programs, for verifications in financial transactions or online shopping. There will also be no need to write username and password when signing on to a website. By simply touching the screen, you can log in right away. So now laptops and cars can react only when the owner uses it, and the front door can open only when family members arrive. You can use automated systems even when borrowing a book from the library or getting documents from the public office. In addition to fingerprints, various parts of the body can be used for biometric authentication. Until now, fingerprints from ink were used for identity verification to make ID cards or sign contracts. With the combination of IT and fingerprints, fingerprints have been used in companies and airports to track arrival and departure time. In addition, fingerprints are widely used in schools for academic management, including checking attendance, bus rides, borrow or return books, hospitals, and academic performances. However, the problem is that 5% of the world's population does not have fingerprints. Luckily, we can use other characteristics, such as the iris, for biometric authentication. The iris is seen as a safe option since it cannot be copied. However, the disadvantage is to have to bring our eye close to the machine each time can be inconvenient. Furthermore, the initial cost can be high as high-resolution machines are required. The demand for biometric authentication is high because it is convenient and accurate. However, it's also not perfectly safe. For example, we can change face through plastic surgery, lift and copy fingerprints, and duplicate voices with high-quality recording. There has even been a case of someone cutting off a car owner's finger to steal a car with a fingerprint reader. There is also no guarantee that the information stored in the biometric authentication devices will be kept securely. a lot of personal information is being leaked through hacking. Even if we were to use biometric authentication for identity verifications, there can still be some serious unexpected problems. DNA scissors are used to do genome editing on genes and cells of humans and animals. It uses restriction enzymes that cuts off specific problematic parts of a DNA when it comes into contact to fix the problem. Simply put, DNA scissors work like fixing a zipper. You just cut off the teeth that is causing the zipper, in our case DNA, problems and replace it with a working one. We also call it gene editing. Today, the third-generation genome editing tool, CRISPR, also refers to an immune system that cuts the DNA of viruses, enemy of bacteria, into small pieces to remember the DNA of harmful virus to attack when the virus enters again. The CRISPR DNA scissor was developed applying this immune system. Whereas previous tools took months or even years to cut and replace one DNA, now it can be done within a few days. In addition, with the CRISPR DNA scissors we can now treat genetic problems in multiple areas at once. Math is the study of discovering the secrets of nature. Ideal math education is a series of training processes to discover the secrets of nature. Math starts with observation of nature and discovering the designs within it. Designs are signs of life and death on living things. Designs are also a form of communication connecting humans with nature. By touching, looking, opening, and cutting nature, it will help us discover the secrets of nature.